Isipan, sinunod lang aking plano. Isip di na magbabago. Sinagad ko na ng todo. Ginanahan pa ako lalo. Hinantay ko yung proseso. Asan na yung pagbabago? Sumiko na parang diablo.
Sobrang hirap tong paniwalaan. Fuck the cops, oh ito aking gitnang daliri. Fuck the rules, pare di ka pwede dito sa aming game. Bawal dito ang tamaan, di tayo the same.
Fuck the law, sobrang hirap tong paniwalaan. Fuck the cops, oh ito aking gitnang daliri. Fuck the rules, pare di ka pwede dito sa aming game. Bawal dito ang tamaan, di tayo the same.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Weekenders podcast. My name is Macky and I'm with Kimi right now.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone.
Yeah. Apparently, uh, we have a schedule to feature tonight 99s on our Facebook. And uh, I admit that it's our first time to stream our podcast or our show on Facebook. And we had some um, unexpected difficulties, right? So, ayun. How are you, Kimi? That was a bit exhausting for me. Kimi, are you still
Yeah, I
there?
totally agree with that.
Uh,
Problems with connection and also with the Facebook live streaming. But nevertheless, we're adjusting to the new normal, which is all online and webinars and doing podcasts is just like one night now. So hopefully tonight, Mackie, we won't lose any connection and audio because this is a very exciting topic for tonight.
yeah, I know, I know. So guys, tonight we'll talk about um the new normal things. Aside from that, we'll preview a podcast from um, what do you call it, a friend? Because here's the story there, Kiwi. Uh,
All right.
I'm a member of a group online called Podcast PH, and
Exciting.
um, there's this one post there that caught my eye. It caught my eye because um, uh, ganun ako before. I mean, I was wondering, how do you build an audience through podcasting in an era wherein video blogging is very much mainstream? So, with that being said, um, ang naging approach ko is to help him out because remember 2018 ba yun? When I started podcasting, right?
Yes,
So,
yes, and
yeah.
I do remember those days.
Yeah, and then saan natin siya ginagawa in my office, which is after office hours. So, for those who are listening right now, after office hours, Kimi and I and Vince and Raha would meet in my office in Ayala. And um
I
uh
do remember. Was that back in Ayala?
yeah, it was in Ayala. And then We'll do a short podcast there, um, uh, talking about random stuff, which is technically like the start of the weekenders.
Exactly.
Uh,
Good old days.
yeah, good old days. Ayan. So, back to the story. Jet Cleofe. Uh, what's his podcast title again?
Free yourself.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you personally know Jet Cleofe?
no, actually, eto nga yun. We met, well, we met online, if you consider it meeting someone online. I commented on his post because he posted something like, how do you grow, uh, and how do you grow your audience through podcasting? And I told him a couple of things that helped me through the way when I was starting the podcast. Number one is that um, yung niche, share it within the common niche, the groups who has your common niche. So if
Mhm.
your podcast is talking about sneakers, share it more on sneakerhead groups. If your podcast is about music, share it more on music groups. And another thing is that what I did with you guys is that I feature you on my podcast to co-host because I told him that it's a big factor whenever your friend join in on your podcast. Kasi it's it's technically human nature wherein when people experience something new, right? You tend to
Mhm.
tell your friends, right? Oh, I've been into a podcast last night. Oh, we did a podcast recording last week and it's already up in Spotify. Knowing that you're just an ordinary person and you're talking in a podcast that is streamed in the infamous Spotify streaming site wherein pag nakita ka nila yun nga ano eh, 'di ba? If you're a singer and your track is already uploaded and streaming on Spotify, it's a milestone already. So it's the same thing about doing podcasting. So when you distribute your podcast, especially on Spotify, wherein I think 9 out of 10 people use Spotify as his music because MP3s are obsolete, Walkmans are obsolete. I think iTunes is not in the loop anymore, or is it?
Yes, actually, I do agree with you on that. I agree that, inviting people into your own niche and your own startup, and, it's a challenge trying to get an audience that, we're not celebrities here or anyone famous trying to get into. We don't want to get that kind of attention, but I do agree with you on that inviting friends and people and even family members to support your cause. And well, I'm not for say to show off. People try to overanalyze that. Oh, this person, he's starting his own podcast. Oh, he's got so much on his hands right now. But I do agree that, those are the people you're gonna see who's gonna stay true. And even if the people who don't like you try and support your cause to probably find, different alternatives to bash you on IML, that's one way of getting followers and supporters, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a new era on that. And I could actually relate with that because remember, Mackie, when we started out on We Harvest Lifestyle, the brand, we usually promote and focus on startup
yeah.
entrepreneurs, athletes, and people who want to support their business. And this is actually the best time to do that. And
Oh, I
I
know.
saw potential in giving credit to those because we both understand how it feels like to start up,
Yeah, I know.
right?
And
How we
no,
started We Harvest Lifestyle and the challenges that we've had, skipping stones and everything. And I actually dedicate myself to even talk about startup these startups, especially this one, this certain podcast you shared with me on Free Yourself. I actually like the title.
Oo.
It's very creative. I Every time I hear him talk, I just it's soothing and I feel like my first impression, ito Maki, first impression lang tayo. When you shared the podcast to me, it was actually it got my attention with the voice that he was saying, the tonation, but most importantly, what I really wanted was the the content of what he was saying. Ang ganda ng sinabi niya about
Yeah.
finding your creativity.
Yeah. For the sake of our listeners, here's a preview of his podcast.
10 years in London, 10 years of being a successful banker, he decided to call it quits. He found himself very lonely at being a banker. He didn't know why, right? So he quit and decided, I probably should be pursuing something else. He stumbled upon podcasting or the idea of podcasting. And to get
So that was a preview of Free Yourself from the real. At first, he talked about stumbling onto something about podcasting, right? He talked about how he got into podcasting, wherein it started in an MMA, wherein Joe Rogan is one of the pioneers of MMA podcasting. Um,
Mm.
yeah. Uh, Plus the way he makes it, actually, uh, seeing his post, I know he is kind of new to this setup, the podcasting setup. But then the moment I hit that play button on his podcast, his intro, his intonation, his delivery, and all, it seemed like he's been doing this for years, right?
It seemed so natural to him.
I
I
know.
can't actually believe it's like his first podcast. He has really
Oh,
good content.
yeah. I was kind of like wondering if Jet is some kind of a DJ back then or something. Cause
I think he
um
did mention he was.
yeah,
He did mention that he
maybe
was a DJ.
yeah, maybe I missed it or something. Sorry, Jeff. But yeah,
That's fine.
um uh Jet Cleofe in his podcast, Free Yourself. Free Yourself, title pa lang, kuha mo na yung point niya. It's about um, diminishing confidence and you know, starting a podcast. Sabi pa nga niya doon, he was cracking his knuckles because he's nervous. I don't think he's nervous, man. I don't think at all. Ayun, the confidence is so pure that the podcast seemed so
I
professionally
totally
made,
agree.
right? I felt like a newbie in podcasting. Although uh, I have a background on the music industry because I'm a multi-platform creative producer. I started on the music industry as a producer for DJs and artists, and that's it. I never got into radio or broadcasting until we had We Harvest and Kids on the Block and McCann Group of Creatives, and then we had Sovereign Society and all of the channels that we have, right? But then, uh, the moment na, because I asked Jet right out of the bat, I immediately pulled his podcast out because I with his post, he was onto something. I mean, he is curious on how to grow his audience in podcasting, and uh, added to the fact that how good he produced his podcast. Um, it kind of like you know um parang
It sounded like organic to him.
Yeah, I know. It
Are you
sounded
trying to say
organic.
that?
Mm,
That's one thing that one thing that I admired about his podcast. He was saying it in a way that this is what he loves to do. He even mentioned he loves talking to himself. I do love talking to myself as well. It's one it's one aspect of me that others find it weird, but for me, I don't. I like to talk about myself. I like to talk to you. I like to talk to people about things. And one thing that I did notice about him, it was people try, well, from my experience right now, as as millennials, people try their very best to make it perfect, but his podcast, one thing that he did say that he never wanted it perfect. He also mentioned there about how organic he wanted it to be. Like
mm-hmm.
he's hearing background noises, or he's hearing his his knuckles cracking, or the background noise at the back. And I think that that's something that's realistic for me. That's something that he's trying to bring into normal, trying to tell people that, hey, starting a podcast, it's no big deal. There are mistakes, and it's okay to have mistakes and everything. And that's kind of one thing that I actually sought a lot for, because I've been trying to I'm same like you, Mackie. I've been trying to see in the world of podcasting, because I've noticed like vlogs, yeah, they get to I do a lot of creative writing and blog content and writing for We Harvest Lifestyle, and I never actually saw myself, in front of the video and going like, how everyone would say, hey guys, this is Kimmy, and this is my blog, and everything. I know, no offense to all the vloggers out there. I do praise you that you guys have the audacity and also the confidence to do it. But as what Mr. Cleofe said about the new normal about TikTok, he even said that um he praises those who actually go into the trend of TikToking, but it was never his style. And that's what I like about it. People like him who's trying to validate na, hey, there are people like me. We can have in the same circle of interest and stuff. And that's one thing that I actually admired about him. And right now, what I think about, ladies and gentlemen, on the podcast series, that I think it's going into the mainstream. Like, we're trying to revive back how radio stations used to be before, right, Mackie?
Yeah, I know. And then, aside from that, podcasting is really, you know, uh, it's like it's sister of blogging and blogging, right? Because in blogging, you create video content about something and then publish it online. Now, the same with blogging, you write about something and then publish it online. Here, podcasting is basically talking about that something that uh, talking about your content and publishing it online. So um, it's very it's
Exactly.
yeah, I think siguro ang fear na lang ng tao in podcasting is will fall under the same category of the fear that I get whenever I'm on camera, right? Whenever you're blogging,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that confident, and whenever I'm in front of the camera, that's why that's why I stuck on being a producer and not an artist, because uh, yeah, because I know I don't have the face to do it, or yeah, I don't have the good looking face to do it. Lalo na ngayon, na pagwapo, men, tapos nag-post lang ng kahit ano online, magva-viral.
That's not
Ah,
uso. Yung mga
yeah.
nag-uso din ngayon, yung mga papangit din yung
Oo, pero
papangit.
pero
Pati yung papangit ng ugali. So yeah,
oo, papangit ang ugali.
understandable.
Yeah, pero yun nga yung thing do'n. I'm not that confident on myself, or rather seeing myself um in a video blog. I'm much more confident on writing. But then on writing, you still have to upload your pictures, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Eh. Ang ganda ng content niya pero ang pangit niya, man. Ayoko yung vlog niya. Right? So it's the same thing. So that's why I stuck in podcasting because I wanted to share my experiences, share my content, share my travels, my journeys, what I do, share things that I would share on the blog without uploading my pictures on it, uh just talking. Plus the good thing here is um vlogging and blogging are, well, you can say, being consumed by its readers and viewers on their own time, right? Pero in podcasting, you can hear a podcast while driving, you can hear a podcast while running, you can hear a podcast while doing grocery and all.
Yeah, I think like the podcasts are, it's like the new music. It's like it's
I,
something to inspire you. You can actually listen to a
yes.
podcast
Uh,
if you're having trouble studying or having or going to the gym or looking for motivation, because sometimes I've listened to other podcasts, like I've listened to podcasts of Inka Magni, and she has podcasts that actually are for soothing, for meditation, and podcasts like from, well, some of the celebrities right now as well, most of them, more on personality development. I know how you can boost your personality, which is actually something that I noticed in Mr. Cleophas' podcast about self-doubting, which is which is one of the aspects of, refraining or restricting yourself from doing the things you want. And I got into detail by that. I had to lean my phone closer to hear that part from him about self-doubting, and it restricts you and refrains you from doing your self creativity. And one thing that he did mention also, Mackie, just sorry to cut you off on that, Mackie, but
yeah.
one point that he said about we're not getting any younger, and you want to result in showing out your creativity, your talent, because that's still a part of you, and you can still achieve more even if you age. And I actually like to agree with him on that.
W-
Uh,
Well,
na ano ako, nabigla ako dun sa ano, and
well, tama
his
na.
motivation.
Oo, kasi tama naman siya. Tama naman siya. Our friend Jet is got it right on the middle of that certain point wherein we're not getting any younger, and that's what I also told uh, my friends na whenever they ask me, uh, from music production to film production, and then you jump right into podcasting. And then sabi ko, what's the difference about jumping into podcasting when I already blogged before? And I can't say I vlogged before, but then I blogged before, I wrote articles before. It's the same thing. I'm talking about the contents. It's the same contents, it's the same format. I'm just talking about it, not writing about it. And
Yeah,
um,
basically.
and as Jet said, according to Jet, yun nga yun na we're not getting any younger and we need to, you know, share our creative um, things, or the things that our mind create to everyone, uh, which is kind of right naman talaga. Kasi uh, there would come a time, because I've been there, I've been on that moment wherein um, there's a lot of creative juices coming out of my head, but then I don't know where to place it, right? I don't want to blog about it because yun nga yun, sabi ko, I'm not that good looking to be on pictures, and and then I'm not even good looking to be in front of the camera to vlog about it. So Here's another way, which is podcasting.
Yeah,
And
I totally agree.
uh, build well, building an audience in podcasting is kind of easy if you know what you're trying to get. Right? If you're aiming to monetize your Spotify or your Anchor or your Podbean or your Libsyn or whatever podcast server that you're into, it's going to be hard. But then, if you are aiming to share your creativity with others, it's the easiest. It's the easiest thing to do in a podcast because the moment you shared your first episode, your your create your creative outputs on that day of recording or podcasting or broadcasting, um, it's being shared out in the world, right?
Yeah.
So so with that being said, uh, it's easy. It's easy to grow your audience when you know what your when you know your goals. Yun na lang, when you know your goals. Because,
Mm-hmm.
for example, our goal here is to also to share our creative experiences, creative outputs, and also to promote the artists that we have on Sovereign Society and We Harvest Lifestyle, and also to promote our
Mm-hmm.
partners. Because as a startup for Macan Group of Creatives, the company that we built from ground up with lots of ups and downs, we managed to get into the industry of get into the middle of the industry of startups when we started affiliate marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, yeah, the
Yeah.
first time that our presence as a company has been exposed to the startup world, startup community, and um, uh, our networks expanded whenever they need media coverage instead of resorting to regular advertising agencies. We welcome them as clients, as friends, through collaboration. And yun yung goal, it's the same goal that I'm working on right now on the podcast. I also told Antoinette before na the Weekenders is not just a regular weekend podcast that everyone should listen to, pero it's a way of promoting them, promoting our company, and then also
Mm-hmm.
promoting the visions of our company, and also promoting the businesses and the people within the networks of our company and us as individuals, right? So,
Yeah.
yun yung naging goal na parang let's do a podcast, a weekly podcast to, do a recap uh, for the week, how creative we are during the past week, during the past couple of days, share the insights, share our faults. That's very important. We share our faults so that if people would experience it somehow in the near future, they they would they would technically have an idea on how to deal with things, right? Because the I believe in the saying that um, the faults of one is being experienced also by another, pero on a different time, right?
You're
So
here on
yeah,
that.
so yung faults natin ngayon, I might have experienced it at first hand, and then next week you'll experience the same fault. You'll know how to deal with it just by listening to this podcast. And I also agree on what can you say about Jet Cleophas grain on self doubts. Ang sakit nun eh.
Self doubt. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that that's the number one thing that's holding us back. Not
I
only
know.
us, but probably a number of people out there who want to share their voice. And that's it only hit me when he did say about self-doubting, and not only into the podcast, but even I know giving out a voice, may it be something for a good cause, or probably, even young girls, even even young girls who are trying to speak out about harassment issues and everything. And I know I expand myself into this, but because the way that he proceeded with self-doubting, it goes to a bigger cause into that. And I think that that's what everyone or a majority of people who don't want to don't want to step up to achieve their goals or what they want to do. And it's nice that he actually did mention about, try to step up, try to climb that ladder up to what you want to achieve, what you want to do. And if it doesn't work out for you, then there's this life is still beautiful enough to live it, and you result your creativity into doing the things that you want to do on that. And yeah, basically that's most of what I actually got from the Spotify podcast by Mr. Cliff. And I'm still hoping that we could have a chat with Mr. Cliff and invite him
I know.
over
Siguro,
even to the Weekenders podcast. I have tons of questions for him though. I do have
yeah.
tons of
Uh,
questions for him.
uh, sige, let's work it out. But before that, I'm going to share, let's skip it a bit. I don't know if you can hear this, Kimi, pero on our live YouTube channel, we can technically feed his podcast in. Let me find that timestamp there.
referencing his Joe like um,
Oh, here.
and fear of being ridiculed for maybe not being good enough, or for trying out something that might be construed by my peers or people of my age bracket as something that is too, air quotes, millennial, for being accused of hopping on some bandwagon, maybe,
Can't hear anything,
or
but
maybe
it's
just
okay.
being a few
Ayan. So, remember, yeah, dun lang siya sa feed. Pero,
Okay.
uh, he talked about the fear of being ridiculed, of jumping into a
Yeah.
um, bandwagon of something like, not of his generation, right? And it's a valid fear. I guess it's a valid fear because, um, it is normal for Filipinos, to not degrade you as a person whenever you do something that not of your generation, right? Like, you're too old for
Prob
that, you're too young for that, you're
Could be
too
a generation gap, or
yeah.
anxiety to start
Mm,
this, like hey, you're too young to start that, or when you're older you're too old to do that. So
I
it's a
know. So
mindset that I don't think not only with Filipinos, but I think in general, I guess. But it depends on your openness and how supportive. Again, how he talked about how supportive your peers are, your friends, and where you get, and most of all, your support from yourself. Because if you still continue to doubt yourself on things that you wanted to do, but can't because you think that, oh, I think I'm too young for this, or I'm too old for this, but and also probably I might be ridiculed on that though. But there could be limitations on that though. If you're young, you can't start an adult brand, right? Because there might be restrictions, legalities there as well.
I
But
know.
that's why I always even have to think podcasts are just the way to go. I mean, podcasts could be of all ages, probably not for the not for adult content that needs parental guidance, but there are different kinds of topics and discussions that are suitable for all ages. Because if you come to content writing, you can't expect you can't expect a young one to read that much, or you can't expect to watch videos too much,
True.
and
That's true.
listening is one way to go. And not only do you need, I mean, what are the requirements, Bamaki, for a good podcast? Yun nga yung I wanted to ask him. What are the requirements for a good podcast? How I see it is, to have a good podcast, just invest in the utilities you're going to need, your logistics. All what you need is
Well,
what? A
well,
server,
well,
a
requirements.
microphone, or
Uh,
even if you can be resourceful, even your own earphones with a built-in microphone, and your your head full of thoughts, your topics and discussions, and that's something that you can actually give out to. And as a writer, it when you talk it, you're right, Mac. I don't know if you can agree with me, and ladies and gentlemen listening tonight. When you talk out what you really want to express, it's different from writing. You express more when you talk it out, or maybe it goes the other way for other people. But when it comes to me, when it comes to writing, I I can express more through talking. That's why I
yeah,
see so much potential in starting a podcast, which I'll take the idea of Mr. Jet Cleofe. I'll
yeah.
free myself.
Oh, yeah. It's a good thing then, to start a podcast in this time of the year, or not time of the year. It's very timely for people to go online right now. Barely you can see people outside already, and a lot of people are working from home. So I really think that uh, it's more of a, you know an agenda for people who needed to vent out something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Another thing is that podcasting could be a channel for you to keep yourself sane in this pandemic, because that's what it's that's what podcasting brings me. Keeps me sane. It's like a sanity pill for me. Whenever, because I admit that uh I barely talk to friends, or I barely have friends actually. I have a couple. I have a handful, because I have this Cancerian values of keeping your circle small, and being your circle that small, you can't always vent out on people you trust, right? So might as well vent it out online, right? They can't see
Yeah,
you. Yeah, they can't see you. They don't know you, especially if you're
totally.
if you're especially if you're broadcasting or podcasting on a different name, like you may back then you were Miss Kalibutan, and if I stumble upon a podcast of Miss Kalibutan, I wouldn't know who Miss Kalibutan would be, right? And I can't see your photo unless you upload it online or on your page. Yeah, but it's a safe way as well for siguro for you. It would save you that trigger of anxiety of showing off to people, na hey, I'm doing a podcast. It's on Spotify already. Here's my face. Here's my picture, right? But then you're talking about nonsense. So it's the same about writing. Ayan. Sidetrack lang, Kimi. Jet Jet sounded like a professor. I don't know. Because
Hmm.
well, yeah, here's the thing. Siguro, let him answer that on after he sees this episode or something, or he might call us out on his podcast. I don't know. Pero Jet, no offense, pare, pero I don't consider you as a tito, because tito age is very verse. Tito and Tita age is very diverse to the point na um, a lot of people are considering themselves as titos and titas na when they hit 25, right? Ayun. But then, ayun,
Mm-hmm.
as I was
Yeah.
saying, a sidetrack, as I was saying, is that uh, Jet sounded like a professor back in BM. I don't know. Hindi ko alam. Because I was wondering, he only, I, I'm not sure if I missed it or something, but he told, or according to his podcast, he is a corporate slave, uh, doing, trying, trying something new like podcasting.
Yeah.
So, being the term of corporate slave, that makes you what, right? I mean, I was wondering, man. I was really wondering. Um, with your contents, with the experiences that you shared on your Free Yourself podcast, Jet, man, we're wondering. Are you a professor or something? Let's take a bet on that, Kimi. Right? Let's take a bet on that. I bet
I
that
would have to disagree. I
I.
don't think he's a professor.
Oh yeah, why?
I don't think he's a professor. I think that he's no offense on that. No offense on that dude, okay? But I personally think and believe that this jet person is like, I think he's more of like, one of those normal or normal get goer. And that's what he said from the conversation. He says he's like he likes to talk, he likes to converse with people. I think that he's a pretty charming person that,
I
probably
know.
works in business and
Oh
anything, and
yeah,
he's too stressed out with too stressed out with everything with the pandemic going on and the crisis as well, and he's just someone who wants to motivate people. And for me, I'll go with, I can't really dictate or assume what kind of profession he has right now. But I just go like, I don't think that you're a professor, dude.
uh,
No offense on that, dude.
uh, paano pag professor siya, man? Pero, it's,
Hmm.
yeah, now
Prove
that,
me wrong, Mr. Jet.
yeah, now that we mention it, it's kind of like, when he said that, um, he likes conversing to people, I might go 50-50 on the professor and do it like, maybe he's one of us. Maybe he's also a startup entrepreneur or something, right? Because that's what we do. We talk to people. We converse with people. We share ideas to people. We go to couch surfing events and talk to different startup entrepreneurs like us and look for a decent collaboration opportunity, right? So,
Yeah,
siguro
I
nga, yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah, siguro it's a business thing. Ayun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really do actually kind of appreciated the Spotify, and I do have a couple of questions though. So I hope, Mr. Cleofiat, you're listening to our podcast. We are Macan Limited Creatives, and we're ready to hear from you
Yeah.
and know more about the insights that you can give, especially to this generation, and not only to the younger generation, even to the older generation who are trying to find that spark and trying to find that niche. And one thing I do, I commend you, sir, and I salute you. I tweeted that for you. I hope that you got it. And I do commend how the grit that you have putting it out there. You tell us about self-doubting yourself in the works that you do, but you sound really confident and proud on what you're doing, and that's something that I praise for you, and that's right, Mackie.
Yeah, yeah. And kudos also na you managed to create a podcast wherein it's sort of helping people on their anxiety on self-doubts and all. Because not everyone could do that, right? Do a lecture, do a share thing, share things about self-doubting. Because one thing, one well, not one thing, but uh in a crowd wherein you were supposed to, share your self-doubting experience, there would be an asshole that's going to slap you in the face. If you're doubting yourself, why are you talking to us? Well, kudos to you, Jet man. Um, you killed it. There are some
Totally.
yeah, there are some realizations that struck me while doing that podcast. Ito na lang, Kimi. I bet this is not his first podcast. I don't know. Or he has been in the broadcasting industry before. Because the confidence is so pure. Working in a creative industry, in the media industry, I know people like that. I know people who are not
Hello,
that.
Mackie.
Yeah.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
lost you for a while. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
well.
realizations that you
Yeah.
were talking about realizations.
Yeah. Ayun.
Oh, right. Yeah. Realizations from free yourself la. I'd rather I learned to realize about, freeing yourself. Like, I feel like the way Mr. Jet talks is there's still something hidden in him. And it's not the self doubt. He talked about self doubt and finding his niche and, having the grit and confidence to start his own podcast. But, I actually do feel and believe that people who start their own podcasts, oh, this is only in my opinion, and that's because I experience it and I feel it. People who
Mhm.
start their own podcast and they start talking to themselves are people who actually have darker secrets in them,
Whoa.
and they need someone to they can looking for people to relate with them, and they don't want to share it individually to people. Hey, this is what I'm feeling right now and stuff. And not when they mean to say dark secret, it's like there's something buried in him and that he still wants to share out. And I've always say that people who start their own podcasts, they come it from they actually it comes from life experiences, pardon me on that.
Mhm.
And mostly because they're confident to talk about what they really wanted to talk about and share. They want to impart the same knowledge, impart the same realizations, which I did from Mr. Jet M. That's one thing that I praise him for, that on the realizations on self-doubting yourself. And I hope, Mr. Jet, that's the only thing that's the only thing that's keeping you busy right now, and not other problems here. Because I do understand how people would come up to me and say that, "Hey, Kimmy, you're the CEO of We Harvest. I praise you. I, when you get so many praises that, hey, you're a good writer. Hey, you have this lifestyle. You're from a good background of family, etc." I get overwhelmed with that. Don't I mean, is it just me feeling this way, or I don't know, Mackie. I don't
Well.
know about you. I do feel overwhelmed sometimes when people get praises, and I partly I am more like how Mr. Jet Cleofe does. I listen to TED Talks. I always thought TED Talks were, you know, more of Christian and looking out for them, which is I have no problem with religion, but I got to realize them. The importance of TED Talk. And Mr. Jet, you did mention on Brian Rose's TED Talks, and I'm gonna try to loop into those TED Talks, because it makes you realize, bah, nah, there are people out there like you, and there are people out there who, you're the only one who can identify your problem and find a solution for it. And it's something that made me realize. So that's basically what I can get from Mr. Jet Gilfie.
Mhm. Ayun. So before we end this podcast, uh, I would like to invite Sir Jet Cleofe to contact the Weekenders podcast. Message us on our email. Uh, it's well, I'll indicate it na lang. Well, I'll just message on Facebook, man. We would be happy, and it would be an honor to have you on board with us on our siguro next episode or something, or on the following episode, whenever he's free. Actually, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
whenever he's free. I think it's also proper for us to schedule. So before we end this podcast, I would like to plug things. The Weekenders podcast is also available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast to. We usually do lives on Twitch, but then with the circumstances that we should be doing a separate, a special feature episode uh, of 99's,
90 nice.
yeah, 99's tonight, and the internet here in the Philippines is so fucked up that it you know it it didn't go well. So we resorted on pushing on a stream on our YouTube page, and uh, maybe syncing it on our Spotify page later on. Ayun.
Yes. We'd
But
love to hear more from you.
yeah, I know. So we'll be live again tomorrow. Uh Afternoon siguro, Kimi, right? Maybe. I'll
Yeah.
just message you.
Whenever the time's convenient though, and so this is a good podcast. It's a good thing to start, and also, do you mind, Mac, if I don't give out if I give out some advertisements
Yeah,
and
sure,
stuff?
sure, sure.
So tonight, you're listening to Mackie and Kimi of Sovereign Society, and yours truly of We Harvest Lifestyle. So if you do like the topics we talk about too, or want to join in to our podcast and give us a talk, we're not we're we give it for free, and no, we don't do any medical consultation that. But should you like to share out your thoughts, opinions, or or shout out on your local brand or business that you like to support out, this is the best time to do it, and this is the best platform, because Mackie and I are here to support you, and basically that's what We Harvest has been doing. We do give support on startup brands. We are a lifestyle brand, so we do advocate to our clients, which you guys for you guys. So if you
Mm-hmm.
do want to know more about me, no, you can hit onto Instagram. That's Kimi KIMISIAO, and you'll see my username Kimi Siao has. It's gonna be too long for me to
Yo,
say it on in this
well,
platform.
you,
But yeah, sure,
yeah,
you follow it,
you can spell it
and I
out.
do,
You can
and
spell it out.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna slip on that, and do follow our website, weharvest.com, or
Macan
my
Group.
personal website as well, myflightstories.com. Yeah,
Uh,
that's all. That's for you.
and
On back to you, Mackie.
also you can contact us if you want to join in our podcast. Contact us at just go to our website. It's www.macangroup.com. That's our startup, Macan Group of Creatives. It's a startup that is technically a startup of founded by a group of friends who have the same creative goal and creative of different creative skill sets. And what do you know? Maybe you need something to support your business or something. We can do a collaboration or some sort. Uh, yeah. So don't forget to hit us up, right?
Yeah,
And
and
also,
subscribe.
yeah, don't forget to subscribe also on our YouTube channel if you're, and also visit us on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/sovereign social.
Sovereign Social.
Yeah, and also, siguro next week, we'll go back to our regular programming na on Twitch. So it's www.twitch.tv/The Weekenders Podcast. This has been Mackie.
And this is Kimmy, wishing you a good night, everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.